Everybody good?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I would like to call the zoning commission meeting to order. This is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 6:30. I believe we are here to overhear application ZON-25-08. Can we have roll called?
Mr. McNulty?
Here.
Mr. Bellis?
Here.
Mr. Pierce?
Here.
Mr. Avada-Newell?
Here.
Okay, so like I said, we are resuming the hearing for application ZON-25-08. I believe we have a new staff report based on the revisions from last meeting. Is there a way we could have a quick summary of that? Or feel free to go through the whole thing, but, you know, if we could be brief, that'd be nice.
Thank you, Mr. Bellis. I do appreciate brevity. I will be brief, mostly going over the changes since the previous submittal, of which there are not too many. Just to recap, we are talking about land here on Gooding Boulevard near Columbus Pike and Home Road. This is an amendment request for a planned commercial planned district to allow for the construction and operation of a skilled nursing assisted living facility, as well as 30 units total of senior independent living houses. They are duplexes, so 15 total independent living buildings, along with one clubhouse for the independent living on the property. So this would be constructed on the southern portion of the property there at the southwest corner of Home Road and 23. This is a divergence to allow the residential uses in the planned commercial district for the senior independent living uses. In terms of the unit count and buildings, one of the changes from the previous round was that language was added to the development text that capped the number of units in the independent living at 30, so that we have the development plan and then also the development text that limits the number of units in the sub-area. Really the only other major change since the last hearing was the landscaping plan was edited and updated. Trees were added near the basin to meet the street tree requirement along 23. Previously there was kind of a bare spot on the eastern property line near 23. Trees were added there. Trees were also added to the north perimeter of sub-area 2A to provide for some screening and buffering for the independent living units from any future commercial along that north property line. And then evergreens were also added along the Gooding Boulevard frontage along the assisted living area to provide just some additional screening along Gooding Boulevard. No other changes to the plans or to the text were submitted or found. The only other item to mention is that the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission held their hearing at the end of last month, and they did recommend conditional approval at their meeting on October 30th, subject to 5 conditions. One is that the amount of dedicated open space be identified. 2, that a dense landscape buffer be provided along the northern property line. 3, that appropriate sign exhibits and lighting plan be submitted. 4, that the county engineer's office approve the driveway location. And 5, that all other requirements in the zoning resolution and development plan requirements be met. Other than that, nothing has changed since the previous submittal. The applicant is on hand. I believe they do have some exhibits to address some of the things that were changed and some of the issues that have been brought up since then. But I will turn it over to them, and I am on hand if the commission has any questions.
All right, does the commission have any questions for Robin? I will take that as a no. So if the applicant, if you want to run through the changes you made, I'm sorry I was not here at the last meeting. So if I ask questions, it's probably because I missed it because I wasn't here the first time around. But please give us a quick rundown of your changes.
If your name and address, okay. Are you okay if I sit, or would you
I am
like me
okay
at
if
the
you
lectern?
sit, as long as the people in the audience can still hear you.
Okay. I speak pretty loudly, but if you can't, let me know. So my name is Catherine Cunningham. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Kegler, Brown, Hill, and Ritter, and I am here on behalf of the applicant, who's Trilogy, and Trilogy's representative here is Joe Naraki, and he is here to answer any questions as well that you may have with the site. He's intimately familiar with the site plan, and the things that have been changed. Primarily, the changes since the last meeting were one of the major points that from both regional planning and from staff was to limit the unit count for these independent living facilities. This is a continuum of care campus, as what I like to call it, where you can have senior housing and then move into assisted living or memory care or full nursing care in the property.
Skilled nursing.
Skilled nursing, yeah, in the other facility. And so there are 15 what some would call duplexes, 2-unit buildings for independent living on each. So it's 30 total units. And we amended the text to prohibit independent living in excess of 30 dwelling units. So you will see that in the amended text. That was really about the only text change we made. Most of the other changes that we made were in the exhibits themselves to update, to show for the site plan and the landscape plan, showing some of the landscaping that was discussed, showing some of the specifics on the site plan. One of the issues, both at regional planning, and I don't remember if staff made the comment, was about how much open space there is. There's a 25% requirement, and it's, the percentage that we have is 50.25%, 50. So we're twice as much as is required. There is also, I know we clarified last time in the site plan, you see two depressed areas in the detention areas. They're not wet ponds, they're dry ponds.
Okay.
That you will see on both Gooding and 23 on the north side, east and west, on the northern portion of the property on the east and west corners. And those were, by design, they will be dry basins. They're not gonna retain any water for any period of time other than obviously a big rain event. For a very brief period of time, there may be some water there. And I think we talked about that last time, but I just want to make that clear. I think when Robin was talking about the area on 23 where there wasn't landscaping, Robin, can you bring up the landscape, the amended landscape plan that we
Yes, page 98.
did? In that landscaping plan, our original plan that was submitted showed
Should be the color thing.
should be the colored one, yeah, not that one, there's the whole site,
There it is.
yeah.
There you go.
If, you may not recall, but on the original plan of the site where the detention pond, one more down, back to where we were. There you go. The detention pond on the northeast corner was, there weren't any trees along 23 there because there just wasn't the separation. Trees have been added all the way around the site, north, east, and west. Also infill on the west side along Gooding Boulevard. There was some comments from neighbors and I think some of the commission members that they wanted to see some evergreens along there, not just deciduous street trees. So there was a sort of a combination to try to get some screening. There were comments made last time, and it continues that there's no parking with headlights facing Gooding or the residents to the west. That continues to be the site circumstance. We did not add language in the text itself on approval of the county engineer, but the applicant has been working with their engineering firm, has been working with the county engineer. And if you need specifics, I think Joe, who is also an engineer but works for Trilogy as the development director too, it meets the spacing requirements from the other driveways. So we haven't gotten a final approval yet. but they believe, the engineers believe that it meets the standards of the county engineer. County engineer is still taking it under consideration. And the same with, we have, had submitted a general plan for the fire trucks. That's part of the original application. They are looking at that. I think they require a little bit more, they have to be a little bit more into the detailed engineering of that site for them to, check everything out. But the preliminary indication is that they indicated to us is that it will work. So some of these were just really adding more details to the plan of things that we talked about last time to make sure that landscaping gets in there. And to make sure that we calculate the open space as requested both by staff and regional planning, and provide some of the landscape buffer to the north side of the property, which regional planner requested, as shown on that plan. There was a comment about sign exhibits, and those were not, there was no signage applied for yet, and nor was any additional signage submitted. I think the last time we were here, Peter Massey was here from Trilogy, and he mentioned that until we get that driveway, location settled and all of that, they're not ready to come forward with sign plans, but they will, which should meet code. And of course, that will be submitted to staff as part of that. So we expect to submit sign plans, we understand that, but that wasn't submitted for that reason, and that continues to be the reason until we get a final approval from the county engineer. In addition to that, there was some comments about a lighting plan, and that was an additional exhibit that you received to show the lighting plan on that site. There were comments about the level of lumens and low-level lighting, and it will be low-level lighting on the site, particularly for the independent living side, because it was commercial, there wasn't really a provision for that. That was all added, and again, Joe is here with all the specifics on that. If you have specific questions, he can answer any of those, both on the plan itself and the lighting on that plan. But that was a comment that came up last, so we submitted additional information on that. And then, other than that, it was just that the zoning code provisions and requirements be met. And we continue to do that, and I think what we have submitted in terms of the development standards, amended development standards, and the zoning resolution of the township are met. At least Robin hasn't told me that they're not yet, and we've been collaborating quite a bit on this plan. So that's where we were in terms of the changes that we made and submitted for this meeting. And I'm gonna look at Joe and make sure that I didn't miss anything, and he doesn't want to add anything here.
No, I think we're good. Well, of course, we're here to answer any other questions that may come out of this conversation and initial presentation.
Yeah, if the lighting plan meets the essential to be the code, and the same with the signs, we're good. And you realize, of course, Delaware County Engineering is going to take a look at that, and nothing can happen until they sign off.
We understand. And that's part of the reason, actually, Robin and I discussed when I was making text amendments, I routinely call them and say, okay, how about? One of the things we did not put in there, the county engineer's approval, because it's not really a zoning question, it's his jurisdiction anyway. So I can't, by a zoning text, change the fact that we have to comply with that by state law. So we didn't put it in there, not because we don't think it's important. We recognize that not only is it important, but it is the law, and that's what we have to do. So it wasn't put in the zoning for that reason, but we're working with them, and I think the engineer and the Trilogy engineers have been very proactive in working with the county engineer's office.
No, that's fine you didn't put it in, because they have to make a decision first as to what it is, and you don't know what that decision is at the end, so there's no way you could have dealt with something you don't know about until
Right.
it's finished.
We think we know the standards, but, we gotta get the rubber stamp.
And the same with the fire department.
Yes.
And they'll work with county and with the engineer, and it's like, okay, this needs to be here, this is the best we can do. Okay, so you realize
Yep.
those two things. It looks like you were complied with regional planning, and that they are also certainly very important to us, because they take a look at it thoroughly. And
Yes. And you have a representative on the board, so he knows.
yeah, thank you very much for that, thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Karthik, if you want
Looking at the landscape plan, you seem to have added a lot more shading on Gooding Boulevard, but that did not translate into the photometric plan?
So let me take the
Yes.
landscaping and photometric question. So if you don't mind, I will stand.
And name
So-
and address.
Yeah, good evening. So my name is Joseph Naraki. I'm the Director of Development for Trilogy Health Services. And my address is 1123 English Ridge Court, Northwest, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49544. Okay? So I work as a hybrid remote position for Trilogy Health. We're based out of Louisville. So my standing is because I've been driving for 5.5 hours, and so it feels kind of good to stand up again. So Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for this chance for us to have a conversation tonight about our project. We're clearly very excited to see this come to fruition and seek your approval in a timely manner. I know there's other questions that may derive from tonight's presentation. Manikin Smith Group is our primary civil engineering firm. They have done well over 50% of our Trilogy Health facilities as civil engineer since I joined Trilogy. I was with a civil engineering firm in Grand Rapids, of which we were the designers for their facility, and this carried over to my current role. What I'll say about the Manikin Smith Group is they know our facilities in and out probably better than any civil engineer. So giving them kudos that they've been very responsive with the changes and with any of the asks from this board and also the Regional Planning Commission over the last couple of weeks. So specific to the landscaping, we updated the landscaping plan, which you'll see on the plan here with regards to the trees that were placed along US 23 on the north side of this proposed parcel. I think if you scroll to sheet number 90, maybe 98 to 100, if you scroll down, you'll see the photometric. Now the photometrics will meet your ordinance. You had a question with regards to the photometrics or the lighting plan?
Yeah, so it does not translate, and I see a lot more light on the north side, on
Sure.
the west side, Gooding Boulevard still, so. You see,
Just, I don't know what number it
this
is
is
on,
C400, yeah.
So if you scroll up, on the very bottom right, so we're at C202, so if you can scroll down to the C400 plan.
No,
PDF
It's
page
just-
number? Mine is 91. On mine, it's 91.
I don't think that's it.
You're talking about the PDF number.
Go up. Go down. Keep going. There.
no, this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see how the landscape around, but it does not translate into the photometric plan. The shading shows,
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying it doesn't carry over into the yards,
yeah.
and I don't know why. What I will tell you is that we will comply with the ordinance with regard to light pollution not exiting off of the property lines. Unfortunately, sometimes when things print out, some certain layers may not be turned on when it goes to print, and that seems to be the case here. Which surprises me, because we have typically a full set that has all of the photometrics all the way to the property lines. And in this case, you don't see that, so
Yeah.
thank you for mentioning that. But I will say that since the last hearing, if it was brought up, that there were some concerns, and I believe some of the neighbors maybe had brought up a concern with the type of lights that we're using. We did update this. We will comply with the zoning ordinance with regards to the light levels and not allow light pollution off of the site. And in the following sheet, I believe you're gonna see a detail of the type of fixture. It's a residential fixture, there you go.
Yeah,
And that's the type of fixture that we would propose to use on this.
because this was the specific comment that came out last time, so.
Yeah,
Um,
so my apologies for the print not coming through there, but we certainly would not present a project that would be out of compliance with your zoning ordinance with lighting and foot candle levels.
Karthik, do you have any other comments?
So One more question. On the detention pond, are both of them, they're not retention, they're detention ponds. They're both connecting to Home Road, public sewer, or?
Yeah, because they'll end up, so if you, there is another sheet, and again, I don't have that one in front of me here. If you look at the site utility plan, there is probably maybe a C200 possibly.
Yep.
There is
C300. It's 300.
300 is a C. Yeah, the turning radius is 200. So if you look at the C300 plan, and underneath Gooding is where the stormwater ultimately is going to end up. So what's happening here is we're collecting the stormwater, let's start, if you will, along US 23.
92, Eric.
Thank you for doing that, I appreciate that. I wish I had a red little infrared pen to point it out, but if you start along, Columbus Pike or US 23, on the back south side, you can see where we start to collect the stormwater into pond number 1, ultimately makes its way out to the north, parallel with our proposed north property line, and then it makes it into storm number 2, and then it goes into an additional storm structure, and then it'll exit out into an existing storm structure that's in place already, and that's where we'll deposit all of our stormwater
Okay.
and ultimately under the road, and that exists today for us to tap into.
On the Gooding Boulevard.
Yeah, and I don't have a structured name for that, but you can see the dark black lines ultimately lead into an easement there that's in place. So that was an initial layout issue that we brought up, with the civil engineers to make sure that we could route our stormwater ultimately around in the green spaces, because it's such a confined space for us to be able to build these patio homes in our facility, and that really is a good route, and it follows the topography, because on the very southeast is the high point, and to the northwest is the low point, so that follows that topography around the site nicely.
Okay. Yeah. That's all.
Okay. Les, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, all right. Like I said, I apologize since I was not here last time, but I do have a few questions. One is, I wanted to verify that we have 30 independent living units, total 15 buildings, duplexes, and then it sounds like 108 beds in the facility. And the reason I bring that up, in your application on page 14-21, and I don't know where that would equate to
Yeah.
in this one.
I'm trying to find
It says the applicant intends to develop, I guess, I think you've crossed it out, because it looked like it was originally 32 and 16, and you've dropped it down.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to verify, because when I first read that, it sounded like you were having more than,
Yeah.
okay,
That was, when that text was developed, they were still in process of site design.
okay,
So when they finally settled on what was gonna be where, the number went down, one building.
so,
So we corrected it to reflect what we actually submitted on the site.
all right, and everybody's pleased with that. I am fine with that. I like the combination that you have of assisted memory care, nursing, and independent, so you can gracefully age in place in a facility. The one question I did have, and it sort of came up when I was looking at your setbacks and your structure separation, and I believe Robin might have mentioned this to you, is the site is, I guess, plot or parcel number 2, and you are taking part of it to A, and you're putting the assisted living, independent living there. And I have no problem with the divergence requested to do that. It makes sense to me. My concern is you have these residential units on the north side, and technically at the corner, the northern portion of parcel number 2 is slated for like a planned commercial district. What kind of buffer or guarantee in these independent living places, according to your text, you could build a building 10 feet next to them, which has me a little concerned if I'm gonna, live in one of those independent living cottages or duplexes, or whether you want to call them, with a big building potentially right next to me, whereas right now, you have a very nice buffer between, your main block, where I presume you're gonna have services so that people can go for dinner or join classes or do whatever facilities they have there, but there's no guarantee of a buffer on the other side. So how do we address that concern? Or am I the only one that has that concern?
No, Robin talked to me late this afternoon, and I apologize that I was pretty much tied up the entire day until we got here before the meeting, but we did have a chance to sort of briefly talk about the issue, because the issue comes up because when the parcel 2, as you recall the map, has in the text, there is parcel 2 setbacks, and it's talking about the perimeter of parcel 2. And of course, then the question is, does that remain parcel 2, or if you take out 2A, is parcel 2 now north of that, and does that setback move up, or exactly what happens? And we had the chance to talk to Robin a little bit about that today, and whether or not we could affect that or not. Trilogy is purchasing parcel 2A. So we'll have to visit with the owner about this question about what about the setback to parcel 2A. So we don't have to parcel 2, remaining parcel 2, I will call that, 2 minus 2A. And so I don't know the answer. We haven't had the opportunity to contact him today and reach out. So we will have those discussions to see about what to do. Our initial proposal was obviously only looking at parcel 2A, and parcel 2A does put a 30-foot setback. And you can see in our drawings, there is a 30-foot setback to the rear of those independent living facilities.
I saw the setback on the northern
On the northern
border,
boundary, yes.
but I couldn't find where it was labeled 30 feet.
Robin, can you go to that plan?
Yeah, Eric, can you go to the third tab there?
Yeah.
Other PDF.
And it actually was very light on one that was submitted, but Trilogy, Joe, in his travels, called the civil engineer and asked him to email Robin a darker line.
Version of it. What sheet
So that
was
was-
that on?
That is the.
You didn't get that
You
one.
didn't get that.
Oh,
That was-
okay, because I was like, I couldn't find
That's
it
the
in
one
the
that was
application.
created on the fly
Okay.
between the engineers, when the question came up late this afternoon, between the engineers. It was originally, I think it was originally shown on the site, it is shown on the
It is,
original
but you
site
can't,
plan.
but you can't really
But
read
it's
it.
a
So now it's
very
clear.
light line, and I can find you that
So
page.
we had all of the dimensions clarified on this plan, and it came in through email at 4:55 today, so.
Okay.
And we can add that to the plan to make it clearer, but it was really just to darken those lines.
Okay,
And I think it was shown on the original site plan that we submitted, it's just not very dark. And so I see those light lines, but,
all right. And I know we have, you have added in that 30 feet, those trees as well to
Right.
serve as a buffer.
that's right. But to your point, normally when you would have under the zoning code, Robin can tell me, I think, isn't your setback 30 feet? If it was to a residential, commercial to residential,
It's 100, or is it still 100 even with our new code?
Yes, it'd be 100 from commercial to residential, but typically, I mean, a residential setback would be 30.
Okay,
yeah, so the residential setback's 30. If it was commercial on the other side, it would be 100. If the parcel 2A applies there, it would be 70. And so we need to talk to the property owner, because we really can't make that modification. What we're hoping is that we can get feedback from the board, that hopefully you would make a recommendation of approval if you wanted to put a condition on it, to move it forward to the trustees, and then we would work with the owner and the trustees to get that worked out.
yeah. My only, my thought was, first of all, I couldn't read and didn't know that there was 30 feet.
Yes.
Which, now that I know that, I'm good with that. That the property owner, who has the rest of parcel number 2,
Yes.
because this is considered residential potentially, they would have to have a 100-foot setback, which would potentially limit the capabilities to develop the northern site.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what the best answer is. We could talk whenever they come, whoever is on this commission, when they want to develop the northern property to see if, we can discuss what that setback might be appropriate. I don't know.
Am I reading this wrong? The application says entire parcel to be amended, not just this 2A.
Yeah.
So entire parcel is to be amended, right?
Well, the entire parcel is to be amended, but this is the specific section that's being amended. The underlying zoning isn't changing, it's still a planned use district or a PUD or whatever.
Yeah.
Commercial
It-
district.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is just, this is being added or
Yeah.
revising the initial.
Yeah, and I think there could be a way to craft the development text so that, because as it reads now, it's a little ambiguous as to what that setback would be, and I think, if the applicant can work with, the property owner, and amend the development text accordingly to just gain some clarity there, I think that could be a reasonable condition.
All right, I would feel more comfortable if there was something like that in there, especially, first of all, for the residents and the independent living, so they don't have a commercial building technically, according to this, 10 feet next to them. And then I would also like, also for the potential owner or developer of the rest of the property, some sort of understanding that they can still develop their property without onerous restrictions. I will let you all wordsmith it. Robin's quite good at that. But if we could come to some sort of agreement, I would like to see that hopefully before it goes to the trustees or something, before it is finally approved or finalized. Is that something that is doable on everybody? I say that because I might not be. So that was one of my bigger concerns. If we could have that. The other thing I noted, that you all are asking for a divergence to raise the building height to 38 feet. Even though looks like from your elevations, it's already at less than 36, so why is it needed? Or-
According to what the architect tells me,
Okay,
is that it is needed because there is, I want to say, these are not the architect's words, these are my words.
Okay.
Because the trim on the cupola is 3 inches too tall or something like that.
oh, well, cupolas aren't considered as in our height, I thought, like
Yeah, right.
towers, cupolas, spires, whatever you want
Let
to.
me have Joe
Okay.
answer this because
yeah.
this is really more his
Okay.
bailiwick than mine.
Good try. So, over the years, over the decades, it's been pretty inconsistent as to where the beginning of a dimension is typically established. You can say, is it the finished floor elevation, or is it the average grade around the facility? Historically, grade will drop 6 inches around. And so, what I've seen over the decades that I've been in this role is play it safe. Let's say it's from, and I don't know how you guys verify it, but perhaps there's a laser technique that you shoot the grade in multiple locations. We take it to the highest point of our elevation. It's a cupola. It's construction, and in the perfect world, builders don't build exactly. And structural engineer may change the size of a truss due to snow loads or dead load conditions that are in the Ohio Valley that might be different than down in Louisville. That bumps up a 2x8 to a 2x12 or whatever. We don't know that at the design stage until we engineer it. So we play it a little bit safer. And so we bumped it up a couple more feet just to be safe. And we know we can live within that 38-foot dimension.
Okay. I know it's only like 2 feet. The only reason I bring it up is generally your neighbors across the street are basically capped at 35 feet is their standard. I think it would be nicer for the neighbors if you were more in line with their height. I have no problem with the cupola being 38 feet. Once all of the building starts hitting 40 feet, that's when I get
Sure.
concerns, because I'm afraid it's gonna have too much height and massing compared to the neighbors. So if it's just the cupola, I don't care, because that is, generally, we don't count that in our code, spires, towers, cupolas, weather vanes, whatever you have on top of the building. It's usually, we take it to the highest peak and generally the ground plane, and that is, where you step out of the building. So your sidewalk where you step out of the building.
Finished floor elevation.
Exactly, which I'm assuming is, I usually set it at 100,
Yep.
but,
Was there any other questions on the elevations?
That was it. The elevations I am fine with. I was just wondering why you needed a divergence, because generally I try to avoid divergences as much as possible, especially if a project might be contentious. It looks like this one is not, although there have been others on this site that have been questioned. So that's why I brought that up.
Robin, wasn't this particular piece of property, wasn't this already set and expected? And we've talked about commercial properties here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, to me,
Exactly.
that 35 feet, you blow it out of the water. That doesn't matter. Because at 38, I don't care. Because this was already designed to be, it fronts 23. It's very low properties compared to what we've seen. We've seen some 50-foot buildings come in here for
Yeah,
this
4
property.
stories.
Yeah.
And that have been rejected.
The text would permit, the text
Yeah,
technically
it
would
does.
permit
Yeah.
that.
It
We're not
does.
asking for that, it's
Yeah.
a two-story
It
building,
does,
that's why.
it does, but that got rejected for the reason she's kind of talking about, is that it just would have blown the neighborhoods up because of its size.
Right.
I don't care, I don't think 38 feet blows the neighborhood up, I don't think that's, they're mostly,
Well,
they're mostly condos there in the area.
And to be noted is, we only have approximately plus or minus 25,000 square feet of a two-story building. The rest of it's single-story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
If everything was up at like
Sure.
40 feet, I would be concerned. But
Correct.
if it's only in select areas, I am not worried about it. I'm not worried about
Thank you.
your
Good
roof
question.
pitches.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can, your roof pitches are fine. I don't care about that divergence either. Your roof pitches are what they're gonna be, when you do your final architecture and engineering. I did agree with the county about the site amenities, especially maybe in the independent living area. Obviously, I understand the nursing home memory care wing, you're very limited with what you can do in site amenities. But for the independent living, it looks like there's sidewalks, but that's about it. No walking paths, no benches, gazebos, anything like that. Is that something that you, how should I put it? I typically see those things in other developments to encourage a healthy lifestyle for people who can still walk, do independent, or, maybe the kids or the grandkids are visiting, maybe they might have a dog. I don't know if that's allowed in these units, but something for the independent people to still be able to move and adapt a healthy lifestyle.
So that's a very good question. When we were preparing this application, we were preparing it more or less in line with text amendments and supplementing it with the plans. we are a very walkable community. We encourage that. We have a healthy lifestyle throughout all of our facilities. So what you're seeing today is basically the initial concept of a sidewalk plan and walkability concept that takes folks out and around, out to Gooding, out to the public walkway. We absolutely add benches. We
Okay.
absolutely encourage that type of environment where there's visitors who do walk with their elderly parents or grandparents. There's places for them to sit. We just haven't planned for that yet. So our
Okay.
communities, we definitely do that. So if that's something that you want to see prior to the Board of Trustees, we can certainly that's a fixture and equipment type of plan that we
Yeah.
have to put together on the site. More than happy to do that, yeah.
I mean, or you just put it on the landscape plan. It doesn't necessarily have to, you know,
Sure,
be in, but
A
it would
specific
be,
plan,
it
yep.
would be nice to show that.
Yep.
You know, and that's one thing we ask of other communities as well,
Yep.
whether it be, like I said, benches, gazebo, or, you know, walking paths or something to encourage that. And then my other last comments are sort of what Dennis brought up earlier, the county engineer approval and the fire department approval. One thing I did notice is that there's one entrance in and one entrance out, or just one access point. I think other times we've had two. Sometimes these facilities have frequent EMS visits, I don't know how else to put it. And if there's just one in and one out and there's an accident, it might make it difficult for EMS. So I would definitely want fire department and county engineer approval. Because again, I know the county engineer is gonna tell you where your curb cuts are going, and the fire department will tell you if they want another access. And it might only be an emergency access, sort of like how we have at the Ohio Health Children's Hospital. They demanded 2 curb cuts there, and the fire department's right next door.
So how does that work if they have to change the plan to, because the fire department said this will not work, they need more? Would it come back to us?
No, I don't, because I don't think it's not gonna affect us. You know, if they decide they want another curb cut, that's no big deal. I'm sure you could do it if they need it. And she said there is an emergency one there at that, and it's all blocked off. It's blocked off and to be used only for emergency. If you drive by, you can't use it,
Yeah,
you know, so.
or just like on Old State.
Yeah, so, I
there's
mean,
some
so
there as well.
they do things like that if that had to be done. But again,
As a
Delaware
condition of
County
approval.
Engineering and Fire Department
Yeah,
decide
and
that.
I'm going to sound like an attorney, but the answer is it depends. It depends on the scope of the changes. If it's
Okay.
just adding an emergency access at one point on the site and it doesn't really affect anything else, then no, it doesn't
Right.
really
Yeah,
have to come
I
back to
mean,
you
the
all. But if
simplest
it's-
solution would be just add one, you know, on
Right,
the
but if it
site.
changes structures,
Right, exactly. If
and
it,
then
you
it
know,
would
if
have to do that if you had to change placement or structures because of another curb cut, yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm
if-
already
From my
assuming that it
perspective,
would
as
not.
long as we meet the development standards, if the site plan changes a little bit, but we don't have more than 30 units and you meet all the
That's-
setbacks, then typically you would not have to come back. But I would work with Robin on that if we
Yeah, I
had
was
to.
gonna say, just work with
Typically
Robin
would
on that.
not have to, but you might. Again, it's, as he says, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, I see it just shifting things on the site.
Right.
Wherever they want 2 potential curb cuts. And then if Robin's good with the shifting, we don't have to come back here.
But if
Yeah.
it changes the whole orientation of the site and buildings
Yeah.
get.
Right, you have to redesign the
Yeah.
whole structure.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
can, but.
Especially if the orientation changes where the parking is towards
Yeah.
west facing or something like that,
yeah.
definitely need to come back, right?
So, but that was my only other thought. And like I said, especially since the nature of this facility might require more frequent EMS visits. That might be problematic with only one curb cut. And potentially, let's see, you have 108 beds plus 30 units, so we're talking about at minimum like 140 people. And that's not including people who work there, staff.
That's true, but For the most part, when you have those types of beds, a lot of those people are not driving also.
Well, I'm
I
not
mean-
worried about the traffic. I'm more worried about EMS coming in and out.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if you don't mind, so can I address a couple comments there? If
Sure.
you'd be so kind? So there's some speculation here on the curb cut. First of all, the engineers of Manick and Smith Group have had conversations with Delaware counties. We submitted a plan this afternoon that shows our dimension exceeds 150 plus feet. Bear with me a minute here, let me get my glasses on. But their requirements for a curb cut are 150 feet from center line to center line, and right now we have it at 177 feet. This curb cut entrance
Big.
was well thought out
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
what we have to do on this site.
Yeah.
If we have to go through and discuss an alternative curb cut, that takes out a couple of our units, we have to reevaluate the purchase of this property. That's how big of an impact that comment could lead to, and we want to, so engineer-wise, I instructed my engineers many weeks ago to have a layout that showed a truck route, get it in front of the fire marshal.
Yeah,
Show a curb cut that is within or exceeds the 150-foot dimension. And that plan that we submitted shows all of that,
Yeah,
and we
I
have
saw
plenty,
that.
yeah,
And
we have
you're-
plenty of facilities that only have one entrance in and out. And when you think of EMS, you think of kind of a tragic situation, or if you think of somebody that's getting picked up, et cetera, and so forth. Oftentimes, the folks are treated, we have skilled nursing, we have doctors on site, okay? So it's actually a mini hospital within a skilled nursing facility.
Okay.
What you often have is somebody that has to get transported out, perhaps to, another care facility or somebody coming in, okay? Oftentimes, that's the case, but we have doctors, nurses, skilled nursing, assisted living, memory care. All of that is kind of our hospital within the facility, if you will.
okay.
So,
I was not aware that you had permanent medical facilities on site.
Yep.
I just assumed that it was like, and that's,
That's okay.
my fault.
That's, I just wanted to clarify
Because I
that.
assumed that you would just have like maybe a nurse practitioner or a doctor visit periodically. I was not aware that you had on-staff
Staff, yeah.
medical service,
Yep.
which actually alleviates a lot of that concern, so.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have a picture painted of, holy mackerel, we're going to have a lot of EMS, a lot of fire
Yeah.
trucks showing up, because that's not going to happen. at
But it's
all.
also ultimately up to the fire department.
It's up to the
make
fire
that
That's
department.
It is.
determination, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think with the width of your driveway, you're covered. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion,
Yeah. with the
They
width
have
of-
decision-making capabilities.
With
I
the
just
width
have
of your
opinions.
driveway, or if they require
Yeah.
a secondary access, you could reduce the width of your driveway
Yeah.
to what is required per code, and just have the emergency EMS access, which generally is not a public access, it's just an emergency access.
Right.
So, those are pretty much my comments. So, at this time, I assume the commission, do you have any other?
I guess one question is, I think last time you all had met with the community already at the center?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and
Jeff
you've done
Zimmer
that?
with Clear Creek, yep, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. That was it.
And now, actually, I was gonna open up the meeting to the community. If there's anybody in the audience who has any comments about this proposal, questions, concerns, now is your opportunity to address them. Just come up to the stand, name, address, and try to be succinct, because everybody has families they want to get home to, so.
That's not fair, after the amount of time you guys took.
Oh, hey, we tried to be brief.
My name's Richard Kite. My address is 326 Parkgate Court, Delaware, Ohio, in the courtyards at Clear Creek neighborhood across the west side of Gooding. I don't know what, Robin, you have access to in terms of the application. Do you have access to page 1410?
1410?
Is that a text or?
Text.
Okay.
Okay.
What it shows is, it talks about the perimeter setbacks for parcel 2A. And for Gooding Boulevard, the perimeter setbacks are 30 feet for building and 10 feet for parking. And our community has consistently, with applications on this site, recommended that it be 30 feet for parking and 30 feet for building. This application easily meets those standards. So I would like to see, I can't speak for the whole community, I would like to see the setback requirements on that page amended to be 30 feet for building and 30 feet for parking for this parcel 2A. I understand that the owner, we'd like to see it actually extended all the way to Home Road. We understand the property owner of the remaining property has difficulty with that, so won't insist on that at this time if there's not cooperation, but we'll be back.
Okay?
The other thing I would like to look at, if you could, is the landscape plan. The landscape plan has gotten better from what it was last time, but it still leaves me, it gives you symbols for the plants. It gives you a key at the bottom that says what size and type of plant it's going to be. No problem with any of that, but it doesn't say which plant is going where or what type of plant is going where. I just point that out. It's not something that we're going to put our feet in the ground, but it's just sort of incomplete from my perspective. The other thing is there any mounding with the landscaping on Gooding? Or is it, what's the grading there, Joe?
So the answer is yes, and we have submitted some colored elevations that Peter Massey, my boss, presented 2 weeks ago that showed that mounting. So I don't know if you have that, Robin, at all, and I'm trying to remember where that is.
That's, as long as it's reflected on the plan,
Yeah, but respectfully, we don't have it fully engineered, so those topographical grades are not shown. But in elevation, we submitted something a few weeks ago that showed that along those in the area. So, can I address the other? Is it okay if I?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Did you have any?
Probably state name and address, just so people can,
How about if I finish?
Sure,
yeah.
okay.
I was gonna say, how about you finish,
Sure.
Okay.
you can address.
On the landscape plan also, along the north edge, there's a symbol there that almost looks like a fence. And I haven't heard any mention of fencing, so I'm assuming it's not.
I assume you're referring to on the north side of the property where the residential or the independent living.
Yeah.
I also assumed that was a fence.
But I don't see any reference, so, anyway, just clarification. Retention basins are dry. You clarified that tonight, right? Correct. That preference? Is that your preference, that they be dry?
I'll address that too. I'll
Okay.
address that in my reply.
And while you're thinking about that, Joe, I assume that the flow of stormwater that's connecting to the existing facility that goes under the road and into our community is being done in a way that will calculate and control the flow so that it's not above pre-construction levels. And the last thing is somewhere in the 100 and however many, 20-some pages or whatever, I think there was a reference to the access point being right in, right out, and that just can't be. So, I mean, we knew it's not, but if it's there, you might want to look and just,
And that would be something that the county engineer would dictate as well.
well,
But I don't think that's gonna be the
It
case
can't-
here.
it
can't be.
Exactly. I
I
don't think
think-
that's gonna be the case
I
here.
think that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
My turn?
Sure,
Yep.
applicant, if you want to address those real quick.
Thank you. Rich, thank you for your comments. Let me, if you don't mind, I'll kind of reply back to Rich.
That is-
This way back and
That's
forth,
fine.
if that's okay, a little dialogue. So with regards to the landscaping plan, this is a preliminary plan that we historically, at this stage of a planning discussion, we don't typically get into that kind of depth, but we have. And so we may not have a perfect site plan yet. Would I take this site plan out to bid right now? Probably not, because it hasn't been quality control reviewed, and we probably want to invite you to be part of our quality control review committee, if you don't mind. So, because you caught a couple good things here. My role is to make sure my civil engineer hits our design intent that satisfies ordinances and/or language revisions that are required by planning commissions. I'll apologize by saying Joe Naraki did not put a set of eyes on the details that you have, so I thank you for that. With regards to where the plantings will go, their sizes, their specifications, and their locations, I can guarantee you that our final set of plans will have that, because that's what we will contract with contractors to place per those plans and per those specs, and we haven't quite got there yet, okay?
And Joe, I understand that and appreciate it, but you have to understand that this is our only chance to comment
Okay,
as neighbors.
no, and I appreciate that, so, thank you. With regarding to the mounding, there's a combination in the ordinance, I think that it says combination of shrubs with mounding, et cetera, so we don't like to do both if we don't have to, so I do believe the elevations, the colored elevations that were submitted a couple weeks ago, they were prepared by our architecture firm, Erdman, and I don't know, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't bring copies of them, but I thought Peter Massey may have presented those colored elevations on the 28th evening, possibly, did.
We do have colored elevations. I frankly do not recall seeing any
Okay.
mounding on them.
Okay, so along Gooding, there will be a little bit of mounding, but what you're looking at though is a two-dimensional plane. These are actually colored renditions. So what I'll say is we would prefer to do a combination of mounding and the shrubbery to satisfy the zoning ordinance of this, and the requirements of the zoning text. I don't have that in front of me, what that looks like, but we did take the time to prepare for that when there was a meeting with Clear Creek's Homeowners Association. I think Peter brought those to that meeting. And was anybody in attendance at that? Do you remember seeing those colored elevations or those colored? Okay. I can get those to you, through your HOA president, but I had the architect prepare them because I knew the question was going to come up with regards to the mounding, et cetera. So if you'll bear with me, we will comply, but it's going to be a combination of mounding and plantings.
Okay.
Is that okay?
If I may make a suggestion.
Yeah.
If we get to the point, when we vote on this, we could add that as a modification, that before it goes to the trustees, you will include an updated landscape plan with mounding, with shrubs, fencing, site amenities,
Sure.
all the things that we've sort of,
Identified.
what was that?
Identified on the plan?
Exactly, exactly. If that is acceptable, so it will be part of the approved zoning text document that goes to the trustees.
Okay.
And that way, we will have recorded the mounding with the shrubs on Gooding Boulevard. We'll have some of the site amenities, whether or not that's a fence, walking paths or benches or whatever else that you would have as part of that landscape plan, with an understanding that it's not final engineering, so the mound height will reflect grading or final grading.
Yeah, and I'm looking at them on my phone right now, so I can send them, but I don't want to delay anybody get home either on a timely manner, so
Okay.
I don't want to be the reason for that. So as far as the landscaping, edging, and the fencing on the north side, yes, we typically will screen our patio homes to the adjacent neighbor. So what you're seeing right there is not specified, but we typically will do a nice white vinyl fence that'll put up at the 6-foot height. They typically come in 8-foot wide, 6-foot panels. that's what you're seeing there. We don't have a specification of it, so we typically want to screen our users from the adjacent property, and that's what you're seeing there is just a generic symbol of a fence along that property line, okay? And again, that'll be detailed out.
Okay.
It's
If
not
you,
required, but we prefer to do
yeah,
that.
if you could include that with the updated landscape
Sure.
that we're asking. Usually we do require also your dumpster screening or
Yeah,
something of
that
that
will,
nature.
definitely, that'll be screened.
So that should also be included as part of that for, as part of the approved zoning. Just to make sure that, you know, you don't have your dumpster basically right next to the library where people are, and kids are.
No, so that's actually, so there's, on the north side would be vinyl around our dumpsters, because it's heavy-duty construction, that'll be actually a nice masonry type of
Okay.
feel, with a stone cap, et cetera. And we make room for 3 dumpsters, and that's sized
Yeah,
accordingly.
I saw it here on the plan, I just
Sure.
didn't see
A
And there-
detail.
There are requirements in the text for.
okay, okay, so that is, okay, perfect.
As far as the basins, they're gonna collect water, and then they're gonna seep down, and then ultimately they're referred to as a dry basin. The existing property that we're buying, what we're doing is, when it comes to engineering sites, we cannot allow any of our stormwater off of the site that we're purchasing. Anything that's going into that current structure today, getting swallowed up in that structure today, we have rights to it, riparian rights to use that structure, so we're going to. The capacity that goes into it is between my civil engineer and that of Delaware County. But historically, when you say the quantity or the cubic feet rate that goes into that, we base it upon what our design is today, submit, go back and forth with the county, and that's not gonna be an overnight approval, that's back and forth. The capacity, the flow rates, that all is discussed with applications and templates that are created by the county engineer. That's why I hire the Manic Smith Group to do that. And when they come back and say that perhaps there's more capacity that the ponds, than the ponds will allow, then we have to start to take our infrastructure under the parking lot. We might have to go from an 18-inch pipe to a 30-inch pipe to hold water, while that ultimately seeps out because we can't allow any more than what currently exists today. And that's between the Manic Smith Group and the engineer, and that goes back. Historically, submittals on stormwater management applications, they'll take 3 or 4 times before they get final approval. And then I'm sure there's gonna be other documents that I'll have to review with them, but I hope that addresses your issue. I know that there's also gonna be, stormwater protection plans that we have to submit. We have, quality control issues that we have to enforce on the site. All of those will be for the state of Ohio's, DEQ or whoever oversees that. But we have, we will be forced to, and we abide by, and we're happy to abide by a good, clean, quality job site, through proper stormwater management and the SWIP plans that will ultimately have to get approved at the county level also, okay?
If I can stop you for a minute. Based on the amount of impervious surface that you're creating, it's easier to it is easy to calculate how much stormwater you will be creating. That
Not
is-
easy for me,
That is
it's probably
flowing,
easy for the
your
city.
engineers, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a back of the envelope calculation to get into and see how much capacity is there. I think that's,
That's already in discussions with, because if we don't have enough capacity, we can't build on this site what we want to build. You see, so those
Exactly.
conversations between Manic and Smith Group and whoever at the county those discussions have already commenced.
So I'm assuming there's
It's not
enough.
approved, but those conversations
Yeah.
have started.
I'm assuming that there's enough in the 2 retention or dry ponds to store it and then release it slowly into the storm system.
these are detention ponds. They are basically, they immediately flow out.
Yeah,
Not
so
retention ponds.
let me read for everybody, because this is a point that
They can't be.
oftentimes
They've got
gets
to be-
misconstrued.
It's got to be retained somewhere.
So this is specifically addressing the stormwater and the type of ponds they are. This is from my civil engineer quote as follows: "The stormwater detention basins are not impoundments with static or permanent water within them. They are dry basins. The basins shown are detention basins that will only have water within them for a brief detention time during the peak rainfall periods of any given rainfall event. The basins will not hold water permanently. They are typically dry, planted lawn, and simply attenuate the rainfall runoff difference created due to the site's increase of impervious area." And just to clarify for impervious versus pervious, impervious is impenetrable. For folks that, so when you look at a parking lot, you look at sidewalks, you look at roofs. The temporary water contained in the basins will vary with storm intensity, but will only be present for a brief period during / immediately after a rainfall event, and are designed to manage 1 year through 100-year rainfall return frequency events. That's what my engineer has to negotiate a design around. How he does it is between him and the engineers, but it really isn't a planning issue. It's if my engineers call me next week and say, "Joe, we don't have enough capacity for all of the stormwater that needs to go into that. What do you want to do?" Those conversations have had before. So, but again, that's between the engineer and the county. And,
That's already here, by the way. I mean, on your utility plan, you have 16.69% increase of stormwater
okay.
going into that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that is okay or not, because you
Okay.
can see it here. That probably answers your question. 16.69% increase of water going into that.
And the right in and right out is really meant for US 23. So,
Yeah, that's.
okay. Any other questions I
I
can
was gonna
answer
say,
after?
are there any other questions in the audience? If you want to come up to the podium, name and address.
Michelle Shupp, 7015 Star Hollow Lane, Delaware, Ohio.
Thank you.
So my husband and I live in one of the houses that will be directly across the street. Our house backs up to Gooding. And so I know that the decision about where the curb cut will be is up to the engineer and then the fire department. But if you notice, there's one of our main entrances is Parkgate, and there's like one house there, but there's a big wooded area. So I don't know, it's hard to tell on the diagram here whether the current curb cut is towards that wooded area versus, we're just asking because of cars kind of coming in and out, particularly at night. Cars could, the headlights could be shining into our houses and stuff like that. So just putting that out there.
Okay,
as a-
generally, the engineer will try to line up the curb cuts for an intersection, because it's safer for traffic to come one-on-one, at the same spot, as opposed to having a curb cut on the left and then going down 50 feet and a curb cut on the right. There could be too much turning back and forth, so they try to align it if they can. But again, that is something that the county engineer would have to determine.
Okay,
So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but generally they like to line it up with the existing
So
roads.
meaning it would be across from Parkgate?
If they can do it.
Daymark, I mean.
Okay,
Yeah,
whatever
Daymark.
that, I know
Yeah.
there's like, right above the library, sort
Yes.
of down there.
I thought there was a comment though, when they came to talk with us at our development, and that the fire department didn't want that, but for whatever reasons they might have. So I'm sure that they'll hopefully work it out. But if that's where it's at, from our perspective, and those are our neighbors that live
We have
next door,
no
we'll
dog
be fine
in
with
the
that.
I was like, I can't say where they want
Yeah.
it, that is
Sure.
what is generally preferred.
Okay,
But in the end, it's, like I said, the fire department and the county engineer.
They may surprise us all.
okay, all right, thank you.
May I reply?
Yeah, sure.
So, first of all, Rich, I apologize. Catherine reminded me, I forgot to address the setback issue with the 10-foot going to 30 feet, et cetera. We prefer to keep it where it's at, just so that continuation, if it were to change 30 and 30, that means whoever develops the further north of us, trusting we get approved, but whoever were to buy the property, we'll call it parcel 2B, we don't want to be the reason that continues all the way across that property on Goodings. You're right, our building is within, it's at 30 feet. I would take no exception to that as long as there's no other ramifications further off of our site of that. Because right now, we fit within that 30-foot dimension. I don't want to be the reason that, this evening, an applicant requested this and it continued on in the following property. So I guess from that perspective, I would like not to see that change. We feel this layout works and it complies. It actually does comply with the zoning text. We've accommodated to not have parking within the allowable space. We have a drive, but not parking. So I think we've done a nice job of being conscious to the neighbors. So for that reason alone, I would ask that request not be considered. We're in alignment with the current zoning text. With regards to the curb cut, I'm just going to be very transparent. The curb cut that we have designed works, and it's the only location it works for what we need to do here. If you take into consideration the existing curb cut, yes, it's in a location that historically engineers will say it should align or have a certain distance away. We've met the certain distance away. Okay. So I want to be clear that I'm not making any commitment that curb cut's going to change, because that's a deal killer for us. It really is. Can you imagine if we had to move that thing back to the center of our skilled nursing? We now we'd have a very discombobulated site plan. And we looked at it initially to do it that way. Trust me when I say the initial concepts were there, and it doesn't work. We cannot get our skilled nursing facility, its size, and the 30 duplex units plus a clubhouse, because it really doesn't allow us any room to the south. Why? Because there's easements galore on the south side. There's the bridge easement, there's the water easement, and then you got a building easement, 70 feet off, and we can't build, pretty much, we wouldn't be able to not build south side if we were to align our curb cut with the existing. So for that reason, I ask you not to consider that request and allow us to move forward with the design as submitted.
Well, you've already pretty much stated why Delaware County Engineering may not move it very far, because they're aware of all those easements.
That's correct.
You
I mean,
know,
it's a-
so say they already know the restrictions you've already bumped into.
Yeah, we've already laid it out initially with all the easements in place on that
That
far
is,
south-hand
like I
side.
said, that's beyond our control.
That's
That is-
well beyond.
That's why we
Discussion
still
we're
meet
having,
the,
but-
that's why we still meet the 150 plus dimension that the
That's-
county outlines for us.
Yeah,
So, thank you.
that's,
And attend that meeting.
exactly. Be a fly on the wall there. We have another,
Same.
okay. Anybody else have any comments? I want to make sure everybody who wants to speak gets an opportunity. Name and address again, sorry.
Richard Kite, K-I-G-H-T, odd spelling, 326 Parkgate Court, Delaware, Ohio, 43015. I think the argument about the 30-foot setback for parking on this site is bogus. The applicant had no problem changing or asking to change the setback along Route 23, reducing it from 80 to 70 on this site. So it appears to me it's more self-serving than it is appropriate. If you look at the development in Clear Creek on the west side of Gooding, we have more than 30 feet, we have mounding, we have landscaping, significant landscaping, and fencing. I think that makes an appropriate section of Gooding Boulevard, and I think we like this proposal. Don't get me, we like this proposal, we like this use, but we'd like to see page 1410 have the added 30-foot building, 30-foot parking for this site. Members of the commission, if you've ever seen a 10-foot parking setback for a commercial development, and then the 3-foot landscape buffer that's usually required, that winds up being well less than 3 feet, and they die and they don't get replaced, so again, much more comfortable with 30 and 30.
All right, so I think the difference is, Right now, the way the property is currently zoned, it is the 10 and the 30. That is what is standard right now. The applicant does not have to change that because that is the current zoning. Do you get what I'm saying? Just like anything.
That is the code.
That is,
The zoning code's telling you 10 foot, so
So you don't grant any divergences to the code?
it'll be difficult to enforce something
You
well
grant them all the
out.
time.
So
divergences.
But this is
We
outside
can't
of the code.
create divergence on ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
If he requests a divergence, we can consider it,
but
but
we cannot impose
one,
a
yeah.
divergence.
Correct, that's the
That's the
issue.
difference, is you're asking to impose something on a property owner. They can ask and make requests of us, and we can allow them, but we cannot impose something on a property owner. That would be
Outside the
like,
code.
yeah, that would be like imposing, restrictions on someone uses of the property, which a lot of people get very upset about. I don't know, Robin, if you can explain that a better way.
I don't know that I can.
Okay.
So there is no, currently in our zoning code, there is no true parking setback from any right-of-way or property line. So the 10 feet that is existing in this already approved plan district exceeds the zoning code, so we cannot force that requirement. But that being said, it is a plan district. This commission does have the ability to recommend changes to that plan district. You could have the ability to modify that parking setback. However, again, it's not something that is in our base zoning code that is typical.
Oh, but because it's a plan district, you can. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
May I address the commission one more time?
Please.
And Rich, so I wish I had, kind of a larger scale site plan here, but if you don't mind zooming in on the west side of the gray parking lot real quick here. Respectfully of the code and the way this is written, I don't want to change the text, but I want to show something here. If you look at the first dotted line, that's a 10-foot parking setback. We could park in that, up to that line. But we designed the building to consider the neighborhood, and we chose not to. You actually have a 28-foot setback of green space. So you're seeking 30, I'm giving you 28. The ordinance says, you see what I'm saying? So we're giving you more green space than what's required by the text.
You say 28 because of the driveway. I don't think that's parking.
No, what I'm saying to you though is,
Joe, would you mind speaking to the mic?
oh, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is the actual green space that we've got drawn there, that we plan to landscape in, is 28 feet to the east of our property line, where if we were to design something that's a 10-foot parking setback, we would have pavement that could go up to that 10-foot line. We chose not to do that. So I think we're meeting what you want across that whole frontage with minus a couple feet. You see what I'm saying? So I think we're being a good neighbor in that design. And you look across there, if I were to highlight that area just to the west of the gray parking and take that all the way across, it's all green space anyway. It's just not dimensioned that way. So I think, you see what I'm saying? If they're looking for more green space, we've already got it on our site. I just don't want to change the text amendment for the future of what's going to happen to the north. So, thank you. Did you see that?
Okay. Do we have any other comments from the public? All right. Any other comments from the commission? All right. So we have a couple of options for this motion. One would be to recommend approval, recommend denial, or recommend approval as amended, or
With
with
amendments.
modifications.
Modifications.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
modifications. So,
We need modifications anyway here. They have to update the photometric plan.
Okay.
Without which they cannot. You have to update your photometric plan to go before the,
To clarify the photometric,
yeah,
yes. And I know it's done accurately, it's just the submittal didn't reflect that.
yeah.
okay, so one modification would be to update the photometric plan. We have
To
already,
reflect the newer, the trees and shading that they
The
create.
whole site, to reflect
The whole site needs to be updated before it goes to the trustees.
Mhm. I know we also have a modification to update the landscape plan as well, if I'm, okay?
Update and provide.
And provide, so for the adjacent property on the north side, the 100-foot setback. So
That would be I think the third one.
the third one.
Yeah, because the setback should not just be on the landscape plan, it should also be on the other site plans. So I think we need to label northern setback.
And Madam Chair, we'll show them throughout, but I want to say on C200, it actually is shown on the site plan. It's just so light that you can't see it carried around. It is shown as the 10 and the 30 on
C200 is that.
C200. If you look up by the street, you'll see by Gooding. I'll let you get there.
C200,
Yeah.
as I rip it.
If you look by Gooding, you'll see the 10-foot setback and the
Oh,
30, and if you carry it around and watch where it comes across on the north, it is shown there, but it's not labeled 30 foot.
Oh,
it needs to be labeled 30 foot.
Yes.
Because you could make the same statement, then
Yes,
on the east side, it's labeled as a 45 parking setback.
right, and
So-
it is, all the way across the east side too.
So I would just
You see.
label the setback on the north side
Yeah,
of the
we'll
property.
clarify that. Because it's shown on every side, it's labeled except the north side, the line is there though.
Yeah.
So we'll get it labeled.
I was talking about the conversation of how this being a residential, the next property to the north not being usable because of the 100-foot. If it
Yeah,
is
I don't know
accommodations.
how to address that in a modification, and Robin, unless you have ideas.
I do have an idea.
Okay,
So my suggestion for a modification would be, unless the commission has specific, specific setback in mind, this can leave it a little open-ended, but applicant will clarify the text and site plans to clearly delineate the setbacks from the northern property line.
Yep. And
what was that? Applicant will clarify?
The text.
Will clarify the text and site plans to clearly delineate the setbacks from the northern property line. And I can print this off so that if you don't.
for all uses,
Correct, yeah.
for all uses. Okay. It is the applicant's responsibility then?
Yes.
To, okay.
All right, and then the,
Okay.
all right,
Are you saying that's a text amendment?
I would recommend, because I think there is some ambiguity in the text as it reads currently,
Exactly.
to clarify that.
all right, so now looks like we have three, the photometric plan, the landscape plan, and the northern setback.
Yep.
Does the
I'm-
commission have any more? All right, I think we're good. Are these modifications acceptable to the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Can I have a motion from the commission?
You want me to motion since you have it, or-
I can do it.
Okay,
Um,
since he took frantic notes. Thank you, Carson.
We need to read all that, huh?
Karthik, I can print one off
Yeah,
if you want.
here's the,
Which
here's,
is the modifications one?
right, here with the modification.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know the three? You got the three, okay.
Motion by Karthik Avdanla to recommend to the Board of Township Trustees the approval of zoning application ZON-25-08 of Trilogy Real Estate Delaware LLC, the pages of which are each stamped received with Orange Township zoning on 11/10/2025, requesting the amendment of the currently effective development plan for property owned by Home High LLC, application number 17033 and ZON-17-04, upon finding that it is in the interest of public convenience, comfort, prosperity, or general welfare, or sufficiently in accordance with the comprehensive plan, and including additional modifications listed below. Number one, the applicant will update the photometric plan before going to the township trustees.
I think that's going to be standard.
Modification number two, the applicant will update the landscape plan,
That might be better.
update the landscape plan with mounds, fencing, walking paths, benches, etc. Number three, applicant will clarify the text to include the setback from the northern property line for various uses. That is all.
Sounds good to me. I second.
All right, then can we have a vote?
Mr. McNulty,
Yes.
Mr. Bellis,
Yes.
Mr. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Valenzuela.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you for
appreciate
your
it.
time.
All right.
Great questions, too. Thank you.
All right. It looks like we have 2 draft meeting minutes before the commission,
Yeah.
or 2 draft meeting briefs.
I apologize. I am very bad about sending you the minutes to review in advance. So
That's
if
okay.
you prefer to wait on approving those minutes and having more time to review them, then we can kick them to the next meeting. If you wish to take action on them this evening, then you can.
Can I abstain? I was not even in the meetings, and
Well, apparently Les was the only
Yeah,
one here
I
at
was
the
gonna say,
meeting.
perhaps we should wait and allow
That is,
Pam and,
Is that
We need to-
acceptable,
that is
Robin?
acceptable.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
okay.
All right, I just wanted to make sure nothing is pressing for the trustees to review these. Okay.
Paper too.
All right, is there any other than business before the commission?
So the only business that I have to mention is that previously we did have an application that was continued to the December meeting date, which was December 16th. As I mentioned in an email to you all earlier today, the applicant has since requested to table that application. This past Friday was the application deadline for that December meeting. There being no business for that December meeting, we will not hold a zoning commission meeting in December. So unless any surprises come up, this will be our last meeting of the year.
Okay.
And I believe Christine's last zoning commission.
I guess, after, I don't know, 12, 13 years? Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your years of service, Christine. We appreciate
So, yes, I guess to say adios. And if there's no further business before the commission, then